Okay, so here's the trading with market score on the ES. There is one trade which is a fade. This trade right here, you can see that the scores are coming down, the upside's coming up, the downside's going down. You could have gotten in this trade somewhere in here where you see that the score dropped from 51 to 41. That potentially would be the entry, or in somewhere in here. Bottom line is this would be potentially about a 15-point trade. Because the downside was still coming down, the upside was coming up. They do converge, and then it starts to sort of parallel each other, getting out at this point up here. Again, roughly about a 15-point trade. The only thing that I would caution about this trade is that you've got to be very careful, because if you can see, if I was to enter the trade right here, look at the market score numbers. So you have 23 new highs for the downside, 20 new lows for the upside, one high for the upside, and 4 lows for the downside. That is a very strong downside indicator. That information is definitely very strong to the downside. So that would be important to keep in mind. So I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a reasonable trade to take, but be cautious. And after you get in, be careful not to let it go too far against you, number one. And number two is as it's progressing and getting you into profit, be cautious of making certain that you get your points. So that as the numbers are converging, that clearly would have said stay in the trade. It's a good idea to hold on it. And then it continues all the way up into here. So it's not a bad trade, just at the same time, be cognizant of the trade you're getting into. The trade I want to emphasize for today is right here. So you see, nobody was necessarily expecting that drop. Obviously, it was news related, but you can see that it sort of comes along, and then there is a jump. And this is the key right here. So we go from 41 at 139 to 57 at 140. Now, the upside score isn't as dramatic. We go from a 7.47 a few minutes before, but at 140, it's negative 1.25. So not as dramatic, but at the same time, still a relatively significant drop. So if we got in right here, your entry point would be about 43.82 half. That's the lowest point on that candle. So your entry would have been 43.82 half. And as you progress, it takes about a point and a half of heat. So again, not a lot of heat on this trade. And the numbers are saying to stay into it, because you're seeing that the numbers are progressing. The downside is still moving up. We end up getting back up closer to that high. We're at 80 now. The high is 84. So and the upside is moving down. So during that same time frame, it does take a little bit of a jog up right here, about a 3 to 4 point jog up, but at the same time, not coming anywhere near the entry. So you're still very much in profit. Um, the exit would be right here at about 43.66 for about 16-point trade, 16.5-point trade. Um, I don't know if I would have ridden through that entire run back up, because you can see that the downside numbers start to decrease. Again, a good sign for paying attention for determining whether or not you want to stay in that trade. You could have potentially held it longer. It never came back up to the entry, and you could go take it all the way down. But at the same time, um, it's a matter of personal preference. But that's the trade of the day on the ES. So this is the exact same trade on NASDAQ. So again, you would enter here. Your entry would be about 15,360. You go all the way to 219. Well, let's just say you get out early. You end up getting out here. That exit is about 15,305. So that would be a 25-point trade.